start with the question. The Himalaya is suffering from the unclear ideas about development. We think road is a development. Sometimes we think the dam is a development. Or many times we think what we are destroying in the Himalayas, that is also termed sometimes as a development. To how to define the whole idea of development in the context of the Himalayas and generally in the context of the mountains of the planet. So we start from this.
Thank you. Thank you, Shekhar. Good morning. Namaste. Kunzambola for our Bhutanese friends and Tashidele. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you, Janvi, Namita, all of us to get me here. So I've been running something called the Himalaya Future Forum. So we discuss about communities, we discuss about climate, we discuss about connectivity. And we are trying to reimagine the paradigm of what is the future of the Himalayas. And that's what, as Shekhar mentioned, introduced me as a Himalayan citizen, and to say that how is the Himalayas or how the Himalayas going to look like after the 20 years? Because we have taken a certain definition around development. When we say development, we say more roads, we say, like if you go to Sikkim or Nepal or any place, we have 15 roads leading to the same place. And I use the word bulldozer terrorism. You've got bulldozers running all over, and that's what we have seen as development. And that is having a big impact on our lives. We see every year this, and Kathmandu never saw floods like we saw 2 months ago, where half of Kathmandu was inundated. We have never seen floods like that. And we have never seen landslides taking place. We were supposed to travel to Tibet during the Dashera festival. And on the Chinese side, across Kirong, we were supposed to drive, and there was a landslide, and that still is being reconstructed. So what is the cost we are paying in the name of development? I think that's the question we tend to ponder upon. And one of the things, as I was discussing with Shekhar also, is that we never imagined there would be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people living in a small square, kilometer or square mile. So if you look at Kathmandu Valley, when I used to go on my winter holidays, when I was studying in Kalimpong in the 80s, it was about 800,000 people. Today, it's it's 5 million people, half a crore. And, it's busting. And then we feel that development is about more concrete buildings. It's about more roads. And we have more cars than people, motorbikes. And that's what is coming. And that's something that and this is when Janvi was there for the Himalaya Future Forum in February, we were discussing, let's keep discussing, let's look at and find solutions. The good news is that there are a lot of people taking into studying these phenomena. We see, compared to 20 years ago, we see more people doing, say, work around urban planning, around design, around reimagining the landscape, talking more about climate change, talking more about waste management. So at least that's happening. So these are some of the topics I think that I look at in terms of where we need to look at as we meander into the future and look at our our Himalayas that we love so much.
Himalaya is not only the abode of snow, it is also abode of so many resources which elsewhere are not available. The soil, the forests, the waters, the wilderness, which cannot be created by state systems, and we human beings can't create it, the wilderness, the beauty, the Himalayan tranquility, and finally the Himalayan common man. If you look at the history, how different ethnic groups migrated, crossing different passes to Himalaya and going elsewhere, sometimes staying here, how they made the very initial society of Himalayas, how communities evolved, how linguistic groups, agrarian, pastoral, and earlier the hunter-gatherers evolved in Himalaya. Today, all three, these phases of humanity, human evolution, they survive in Himalaya. They work, they are still, you can find them in Himalaya. Then how feudal systems started and Himalayan feudalism evolved. Because Himalayas are very difficult landscape. So smaller kingdoms evolved here. Only once the Gorkha Empire, the Ahon Empire, and also the Dogra Empire. These were the largest empires which evolved in early, later modern period. And it was difficult for them to survive for more than a quarter of a century. This longer history also gave the chance meeting different communities, different ethnic, linguistic blood groups, and how initially there was conflict, later how they compromised, later on how they coordinated with each other and evolved a shared legacy in the Himalaya. So this is one of the very attractive message from the Himalayas, how we have evolved a very collective Himalayan society. It is true that the person who lives in Arunachal Pradesh, so he has not a connection with the Karakoram people, and he's yet not able to travel to that area. And Karakoram, same is the case with the Karakoram friend or Ladakh friend. But whoever is traveling in Himalaya, they or he or she found commonalities between different cultures here and there. So this large legacy of history, of shared culture, linguistic diversity, and the different modes of living, how they shaped the Himalayas. Or you can say the Himalayan humanity, how they created. So this is a very interesting kind of aspect which is not yet fully covered or studied by scholars of the universities. And independent scholars are very difficult to find. In Nepal we can find, but elsewhere it is very difficult. It is another point that we still flow in orality. So whatever we have, that is in the oral traditions and all that. So Sujeev, how do you look at this very complicated, unknown, lesser known history, linguistic diversity, modes of living, and if you look at face wise, how from Kalas people to the Apatani, Arunachali, what kind of different we can find them? You just saw a Bhutani friend here, friends here. You found Nepali here. You found Uttarakhandi here. Through your face, you can see that how mixing of different ethnic groups happened in Himalaya much more than elsewhere. So how do you look at this aspect?
No, I see it's been very fascinating, I would say, the last 10, 15 years, especially the emergence of social media. Now, when we look at, when we look at Instagram posts, when we look at videos, reels coming in, there are festivals that are being celebrated. And there are young people who are playing drums that were being played 2,000 years ago. And there are young people who are playing instruments. Let's not forget, Himalayas is half of our population is under 25. And as long as they, embrace the past, I think that continues. And oral history, earlier, it was not so much well documented, I see. But now through different social media platforms, through the internet, you can see, hundreds and hundreds of festivals taking place all over the Himalayas. And that I find it very fascinating in terms of how does one see everything evolving and what the oral traditions, how they get recorded into films, into reels, and then we get to see across. Like Nepal, in our new constitution 2015, it recognizes 123 languages. It's very difficult to understand that. I was shocked, 23 languages in Nepal, but that's the diversity we live with. And it's also political boundaries. I know that sign is flashing out there. But when we look at the political boundaries, when we see that yesterday as I was driving, we flew into Dalal Dhura, we crossed over and came in. And I was reading. So in Nepal, when we read somebody like Raju Bisht here, I read it as Raju Bishta there. Okay, in Nepal, the same, it's in the same Devanagari, but I would read as Bishta. But you cross the border and you read as Bisht. This is very fascinating how political boundaries can redefine things. That same thing that as I would go to east, into Sikkim, into Bhutan, into Arunachal, I find these differences. But perhaps coming together, more people-to-people movement, more understanding, more events like this, perhaps would help us to understand the deep oral traditions. And that is what is also going to define the future, because there's so much of history, there's so much of culture, there's so much of solutions that are there in the past. Maybe we have time for only one question. I can see that flashing.
The essence of this flow of history finally comes in the form of diversity of the Himalaya. And the Himalayan social and cultural diversity is also very closely connected with the biodiversity of the region. If you look at Arunachal Pradesh, a different kind of living evolved there, where more than 80%, 85% of the total geographical area is under greenery. Jhum cultivation is still possible there. And you just fly to Ladakh and Karakoram area. Only 5 to 6% of the geographical area is under life, is under greenery. And if you look at the population, more than half of the population will be of army people, security people. Here also, other side of border also. In the case of Pakistan, in the case of Tibet. But the diversity of Himalaya is very crucial. And it starts from the biodiversity. Florally and faunally, though no mountain system has this kind of diversity anywhere in the planet. And the cultural linguistic diversity, we have more than 500 languages spoken in the Himalaya. From hunter-gatherer to money-order economy to industrial sectors, these all phases of development can be here between agriculture and cottage industries and pastoralism and trade also. Still, we have Nepali and Indian dukans in Taklakot, which stopped for 20-25 years. Now it has reopened. Let us hope that it will again reopen in a couple of years. The Himalayan diversity also associated with the diversity of the resources, as I have already told you. The soil, which created the whole Indo-Gangetic plain. Then forests, then waters, and it is third pole, third largest depository of the ice and snow in the planet Earth. These all aspects connect us, the Himalayan people. How to use them, how to tackle with water. The river is not just a water, it is also a silt, it is also energy, it is also a wildlife. How you look, when you make a dam or you make a bad dam, then you destroy other expressions of a river or a lake or a snowy system. We around 8 crore people live in Himalaya. And 80 crore people are dependent directly or indirectly on the resources which are given by Himalaya in the form of soil, in the form of water, in the form of timber, in the form of medicinal herbs, in the form of wilderness. And wilderness is not being looked seriously by anyone, neither the system, nor we common people of the planet, of the mountains. We are also sometimes destroying this wilderness. So these resources, for understanding these resources, they are huge. The state-to-state relationships are there. A country has some kind of relationship with other country. India is called Big Brother, and sometimes it shows that it is Big Brother. There is no need. Its geography is already there, which confirms that you are a Big Brother. Your population, your resources. But we have other very friendly brothers, Nepal and Bhutan, especially. How we can look at them. So apart from state-to-state relationship, how we can evolve people-to-people, community-to-community relationship in the Himalaya. Not only in the Indians, among the Indian states, but also the Himalayan nations, like Bhutan and like Nepal. So how do you look at this aspect? We have very little time.
No, I don't think we have time. No, I am around, so would love to keep this people-to-people discussions going It's great to be here, and I think relationships begin with understanding each other, understanding the diversity lies between the different parts of the Himalayas, and the conversation has begun and it should continue. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.